You're listening to the Couch Friends podcast with Crystal, Jenna, and Christy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Couch Friends. I'm Christy, and I'm joined here with Jenna and Crystal. And it's been a minute, girls, since we've been here. Today's episode is going to be about motherhood and the mental load, which I feel like is very fitting, being that we just all finished our first week back to school. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but it was a doozy.
It was a lot. It was early mornings at my house. Early mornings.
We've gone from sleeping in the summertime to getting up at 5:30 every morning, which it's been rough. It's been really rough. How have you guys handled the first week of school?
We survived. We survived. I couldn't form sentences by Thursday night.
Yeah.
Well, I think all of you know, Monday morning I sent out a text and I was like, "Who's going to lunch? Because we need a break." Remember we sent the kids off?
Yes, and that was I told Jana, I said, "Crystal, you didn't join us, but next year we have to schedule it so that everybody can go because I think we need a annual back to school lunch that the moms all go to."
Yeah.
And do that just as a group, kind of regroup and then get the week going.
Yeah. This was my first year in a while doing traditional back to school. My middle son did a couple years of public school, but we've been homeschooling for the last 6 years at least. I mean, completely everybody would have the first day of school and we're like, we're going to Disney. Yeah. That was our, back to school thing. So for us to be awake, earlier than we're normally used to, and then to my daughter, who's the one who is going to traditional 5-day a week 7 hours of school every day, was quite a shock. There was no tears. There were almost tears halfway through the week, and a little bit of is this how it is, and do I have to keep going back? So there was some adjusting, but we survived, and now we get to do it again. But I couldn't form sentences literally by the end of the week. I was like, I can't even speak. I'm so tired.
I was too. I was exhausted. And I had both of my kids are in middle school now. So my daughter was her first year going into middle school. And so she was all excited about having 7 periods and switching classes. And so she was very excited. And I think secretly, my son was excited to have her in middle school with her too.
Aww,
I think they're in the same PE class. So that was kind of fun. Yeah,
that is.
But Friday I was mentally exhausted come Friday. And I'm sure my kids were too. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about this year, but I've heard from every single person I've talked to that say the same thing, that it's just been the first week of school this year has just been intense for some reason. I think I went from just a really laid back summer we didn't really go very many places. We just had a really relaxing, lazy summer, which I just really loved. Mm-hmm. And to go from that to having to get up at 5:30 in the morning and just go from that point on, it was like a shock to the system. And I needed a nap every day. So,
yep.
But the mental load was turned on to, the full volume this week for me. And I know you guys both kind of have more of a busy, hectic schedule year round. I don't know if you felt that shift this week too, just with, having to add in the school stuff too, but
I definitely did. Yeah. I felt it. My daughter, I think I've talked before, my daughter plays basketball, my son plays soccer, and they're both in club level, so very involved, and we were full force into the practices and already on top of and something else I thought about with the back to school, I think the mental load was all those syllabuses.
Oh,
how many of those did y'all have to sign? I mean, Crystal, I think maybe just for one child, but I thought it just kept coming home and more supplies we had to buy, and it just was a lot. It was, so hopefully going into this next week, it'll we can just all be
slow down a little bit.
good.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, the we're back in, 4 nights a week practices,
Wow.
games on Saturday, and yeah, but that's life. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for all of you sports mamas out there, I do not know how you all do it.
I don't
I
either.
am like,
In awe.
oh yes, in awe of the oomph
Yeah.
that you really do have to have, and the organization, and
Yeah.
just the how do we get from this place to this place, and how do we fit this, and how are you still going to get homework done, and how do you
Yep.
get dinner in, and how do you get all the things, the mental list of all the things
Mhm.
that have to get done. I am always like, we were sort of a sports family for like a tiny little bit. Then COVID hit, and then we were like, we don't really want to add sports back in. But I really do just like, hands down to all the families that are juggling so many sports. And it's really important. I think being in sports is so much good from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, I was thinking as you were talking, for me, I know it's being prepared, but it's also, the quick, easy, but still nutritious meals that you have prepared. But if anybody out there has any ideas of dinners or things that you do, if you're sports parents or you have busy lives, quick and easy meals, send those our way, because I'd love some tips on that.
Quick, easy meals.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does the mental load feel like to each of you? What does it feel like inside of your head on a day-to-day basis, juggling all of the things? How would you describe it? I know there's if you're on social media, you've probably seen the reels and the videos about moms relaying their their experience of what it feels like with like different tabs open all the time. But how would you guys describe what it feels like for you?
I would think, the mental load for sure is not only taking care of yourself and all that goes into that. So like if you've got a job, just the fact that you have a job and other people at your job that are relying on you to do certain things, for like whatever 8 hours, depending on what type of job you have. But also the fact that you have an entire family, like maybe a husband, if that's included in your family, but for sure the children, I would say for a mom, the children is like a huge mental load because you are taking care of them. So you're not just thinking about like, what do I need to take care of my own schedule for the day and my own, what am I going to eat? What am I going to like, how am I going to get myself places? You actually have to run all of that for like all the other people in your family too. Like, how am I going to take care of this child's needs and this child's needs and this child's needs? And it's not just like the physical needs. It's a lot of times like the emotional needs. At the end of the day, when you're like, oh, you had a fight with your best friend, we need to talk through that. Oh, you're crying because you got a bad grade, or or whatever, or somebody hurt your feelings. So it's more than just like, oh, I need to feed you or get you clothes. It's like taking care of them emotionally
As a whole person.
too.
Yeah.
As Crystal was talking, I thought about the time last year when my husband and I went out of town, and as I was making a list for the my parents who were going to watch my kids, and thinking about the load, right? Like from when we wake up to when we go to bed, what all happens in between, right? And just that is, I think, a lot of people's reality, right? And there's a lot of little things, whether it's, well, for me, walk the dogs, feed the dogs, make the lunches, check on this, wash this uniform for that sport tomorrow, make sure they have this outfit in their bag for, it's all the little things that for me, I'm a planner. I have to stay on top of those things or else I go crazy. So I think I'm just constantly, my brain's just constantly thinking so that I don't forget or charge my son's iPad so it's ready for the school, even though he should. But just those little things. But then like, it's so important to give myself some time. And I think maybe, because I do work during the day as well. And so I think just having, whether it's my lunch hour where I just have some time, sometimes I'll go for a walk, go for a walk during the day and I'm just zone out, put my earpods in and just listen to music. Don't think about anything else. So I think the mental load, it can be overwhelming, and you have to find ways to help yourself, whatever that is, whether it's venting to a friend, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's, it can be very overwhelming. So find what's good for you that helps you relieve or get rid of a little bit of that load to start the next day or the next hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. To kind of recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you guys are saying. And if there's one way that I would describe it for myself, it is always anticipating everybody's needs and always anticipating what's the next thing. What do I have to do now so that, this afternoon or tomorrow, everybody has what they need. I try to help out future Christy. What can I do now to help future Christy tomorrow have an easier time?
Yes.
Because that makes a huge difference too for me. But so going off what you were saying, it is important to take care of ourselves, especially because that mental load can be so stressful and so overwhelming, like you said, which can then in turn, lead to mental health issues, like, that we all kind of deal with. So how do you take care of yourself, and how do you take time out? How do you find time? How do you take time out? And what do you do to take care of yourself?
I think this is a really good question that as moms, a lot of times we don't spend enough time thinking about, because it's always like, what does this person in my life need? And then to stop and take a second and think, well, what is it I actually need in this moment? Then you have the mom guilt, like, oh, but if I do this for myself, then all these other things that I had prioritized are not going to get done, or I'm going to fall behind. But like the whole mom guilt thing, right? We could probably have a whole entire
could be a whole episode.
other episode on that. But I know it's probably been said out in the world though, but like, if you're not healthy, nobody around you can be, healthy. You're not going to be able to help all the people in your own life first. So yeah, I think for me, how do I stay healthy? I think when my kids were little, this was really hard for me. It was really, really hard. I would get to like the end of the week and be exhausted, like emotionally exhausted. Like I don't know if there's anybody, you need to tell me if you guys have had this, like if you've ever thought this, but like literally I was like, please just send me to a hotel room with nobody else and don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Leave me completely alone for like 24 hours and then I'll be fine. And I don't really, at the time, I didn't think that's me screaming for like my body screaming like, I need a break. I'm overwhelmed. I'm over, like there's too much sensory stuff going on. Like all the things I had no idea like that I was feeling all that. I just knew I wanted to get away. By the end of the week. And I was like,
you're like, I don't care if I go to the hotel room and just sit there. Just quiet.
Yeah. And I knew everybody at the end of the week was looking at me like, what's wrong with mommy? So now I try to just take, like, even if in the middle of the day I feel like tense, stress, I will allow myself to take 15-20 minutes to go and just lay down, have some quiet time. If my kids are around constantly, like mom, I'd be like, mom's taking a time out. I'm going to go to my room. It's not you. It's totally me. And I just want to be a good mom for you. And I can't be that for you right now. So I just need like 10 minutes with nobody touching me or calling my name, and I'll be back.
Yeah. That's so healthy too. That's so important. And that also, I think, is such a good thing to teach them, because they see you do that and then they realize it's okay for me. Like, this is how, I'm watching my mom regulate her feelings and her stress basically, and understanding that that's important, and then learning to do that themselves.
I love how you said, when you said mom needs a timeout, you're like, it's not you.
Yeah.
It's me. It just so that they don't think
Yeah.
that, it's because of them. It's just because of everything.
Yeah.
And we're human,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And we need that break too. And I think as moms, as women, as humans, our brains are constantly, like you said, thinking about the whatever's ahead of us.
Yeah.
They're always one step ahead,
Mhm.
Go to this, because this is happening, and this happening, and then we're already there, and it's just,
Mhm.
and then it's time for bed, and then we do it again. But it can be a lot, I think. I know for me, sometimes I say, I'm going to go to Disney.
Yeah. It's
I'm
your
gonna go
happy
to-
place.
That's my happy
Mhm.
place. Go to Disney and just walk
Mhm.
around. I don't have to go do anything. Go to
Yeah.
Disney, go on a walk. That's my escape sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm bad about I think taking time when I need it. I kind of just try to plow through, but then I get like really irritable.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just get some fresh air, take the dogs
Yes.
outside, take them for a walk, something like that. Or yeah, just go have some time by myself.
To think.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Then everything just becomes more clear and, everything seems better.
Okay, this may sound really weird, but another time that I get kind of a break is when I take a shower.
Yes, I
Mm.
love that time.
When I take a shower, I don't know, I think my mind is clear.
Mhm.
I can think. I'll get ideas, I'll get thoughts, and I'm like, it always happens in the shower. I don't know why.
Same.
I don't know why.
Yes.
But it does. And I mean, no one's going to bug me when I'm in the shower, right?
Right.
So maybe that's why. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I'm like, okay, I got this. Bring it
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
So that's the thought I had.
I agree. That's my place too. I feel like at the end of the day, just take my hot shower in the dark with no interruptions
Yep.
and just, stand there under the hot water. And yeah, I do a lot of thinking in the shower. I have a lot of conversations with
Mhm.
myself in the shower or with God or,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now you guys are mentioning the shower. I'm like, do I do that? I don't know. I know for sure though, because the dog needs the walk. I will usually, sometimes I'll have people go with me, but it's actually kind of like, I like not going with people sometimes just
Mhm.
because I get to like be outside.
Mhm.
Right now it's super hot here, but when it's not hot or when the sun's gone down enough that the wind is just kind of blowing, it's very relaxing.
yeah.
And that for me is rejuvenating.
Yes.
I think because it's like physical, you can get out like
Mhm.
whatever stress hormones are building up, but also just, I don't know, just being in nature for me personally. I
Mhm.
love being outside and seeing like a beautiful sunset or something that
Yeah.
just reminds me like God's in control and look
Yeah.
at he did this beautiful thing out here tonight again. And it helps me to just remember being in the present, being in the moment, like this moment, is beautiful.
Mhm.
Yep.
And lots to be grateful for and thankful for. And I think that's another way too that I take care of myself is trying to be grateful for what I do have in the moment or, in the big picture. I can get really overwhelmed and just like, oh, like why is this my life or why
If you
this, why
sit
that?
back, step back, take a minute and say, okay, yes, we know we have all these struggles, but I do have this. And
Yeah.
some people don't even have this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's kind of a blessing to
Yes.
have
It's
those
huge.
struggles
Mhm.
and those commitments and those responsibilities because those are blessings that, if I didn't have my kids, I wouldn't have this overwhelming responsibility. And I'm so grateful that I do. So yeah, gratitude is just, it goes a long way to, I think, really kind of bring you back to like what's important and take a deep breath and just, plow on through.
Yeah.
What are some ways that your partner, if you have one, helps or could help alleviate some of that? Or how do they help? Do they help? Do you think they understand what goes on inside your head on a daily basis?
I think my husband tries to understand, but I just don't think he quite understands. And I don't know if that's the man brain versus the woman brain. I don't know. But what he does try to help do is tries to help with like a sport, like the sports practices. So he tries to take my son to the soccer when he can, which helps. Or he'll try and help with a certain subject in school that I'm not great at, but he tries to take over on that with homework. So that might help. But also just helping back me when I'm trying to navigate getting the children to do the things that they're supposed to do, to kind of help reinforce the rules or what needs to be done.
Yes.
Having that second person to is helpful.
That's very helpful.
You know, but
yeah, I would say in my family, there's a whole different set of thought processes going on in my husband, like whole different thing going on. So oftentimes I have my thought processes going on about things needing to be done, and he's usually, and I shouldn't expect him to be 100% clued in. Because he's got other things that he's working on in his brain. But I've just had to become more okay with stating outright, like, I have too much going on tonight. I'm going to need everybody to stay and help clean up. Like, I'm going to, I'm going to need you to put your daughter to bed. I really need you to do this. If I don't outright state things that I need, like, he's not going to know what's going on and what I need help with, basically.
He doesn't anticipate. The same
right. Like, I have a story from this past week, honestly. Like, we moved our oldest to college. So this whole entire summer, I've been slowly building the pile of things that are going to leave the house and go. And, that has been a 100% me thing. Like, there's been I shouldn't say no help with it, because I don't want to cast guilt or anything like that. It's just like, that was just something that implicitly is like, that is a mom thing. That, like, my partner wasn't thinking about, like, hey, what are we going to do when we move our, like, there was no. And so, like, the night before, there's the pile. I moved the pile visibly. Like, these are the things that are going to go in the car. All the cars. And then it was really late the night before. And I finally was like, I'm going to need some help now. Now, like, with a movie being playing on. And I'm just like, we need it. And that's where I was, like, frustrated. He's like, well, maybe you could ask a little bit less stress. And I'm like,
but I am stressed.
And at first I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was sounding stressed. But then I stopped myself and I was like, of course I'm stressed. It's the night before.
And you're watching a movie.
Everybody else is sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, remember, tonight we have to pack the cars. Like, we have to do this. We have to do this. So, that's just a whole different set of thought processes that are not like what mental load goes on in my brain, and what my family has implicitly tasked me with is like, they just like, mom will take care of it.
Yeah, because they know you will. Yeah.
So I think I have to be very direct.
Yeah.
And usually direct comes across as like, why are you being so bossy and stressed? I'm like, I'm really not trying to be, but like, you could like notice there's a big, huge pile sitting here, or like, so
I always say, or simply just ask, what can I do to help? And I might say, nothing right now. Like, I've got it, or I'm going to do the dish. I am kind of crazy about the dishes. I like my dishes done a certain way. So
no, not you.
My family knows that. So I do the dishes. Okay. So, and that's fine. I'm fine with doing the dishes, but I just sometimes will tell my family, just ask me, is there anything that I can help with? And I might give you a job or I might not, but just to know that you recognize that I'm working hard and I'm busy, and that you appreciate that and you're willing to help goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I immediately feel better. Just like my son, my oldest son, he does that often. He asks, Mom, is there anything I can do to help you? And I'm never really ready with a task to give him, but just asking that just kind of makes my blood pressure go down.
Yes.
And like, I just feel better, and I feel more supported, and just knowing that somebody took the time to notice that I might be a little bit overwhelmed right now. And, they offered to help me. So that goes a long way. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys have heard of the nothing box that supposedly men have, but it might help to understand why they do what they do, or why they don't do a lot of things.
Didn't I share that with you guys at dinner one night?
This was like one of those aha moments when I watched this video. You can go on YouTube. It's a video, I think, by a guy named Mark Gungor, who is like an author, a speaker, and a relationship expert. I don't know if that's the one you sent me or if it was a comedy routine, but it basically suggests that men have compartments or boxes that in their brains that are completely separate, and none of them overlap. So they put something in one box and then something in another box and something else in another box, and they never overlap, which I think is the key thing here. That is the difference between a man's brain and a woman's brain. But they have this special little box called a nothing box, and it gives them the ability to think about absolutely nothing. So when you ask a man, what are you thinking? And they say nothing, they literally are probably thinking about nothing.
And I'm over there thinking, how could you thinking about nothing? Because you got this going on and this going on and you're doing this. How is there nothing to think about?
How is there nothing in your brain right now? How do you not see that pile sitting over there?
Right.
How does that not bother you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because since I shared that, or my husband shared it with me, and then I shared it with you guys, it's the joke in our house. We'll say, I'm like, what are you thinking about, like in the car? What are you thinking about? Nothing. And I'm like, I know he's really thinking about nothing.
It's like, really? Now you can't question it or get angry.
It's scientific.
And then when he asks me, I'm like, where do I begin?
Yeah.
What I'm thinking about.
Let's go through all the tabs that I have open right now. And
And don't they talk about on there, they talk about the women's brain is just, its wires just
crossing. All tangled up together and overlapping. And that's so true.
Circling back to the same one. And it's a great little clip.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you should just Google the nothing box. It is quite
eye-opening. It's eye-opening. It makes you go, okay. Yeah. It all makes sense.
Maybe they're not as unhelpful as I think that they are.
So I had this thought. So what about the friends out here that are listening that don't have a partner? They're doing this by themselves. What can we give them? What advice?
I can relate to that because I have no partner currently. And I am divorced, so it's just me. And I understand the struggle of what it's like to be a single mom. I have 3 kids, but I really don't think that the number of kids necessarily matters when you're doing it by yourself. It's just, it's all on you. Providing for them, taking care of them. If they're sick, if they're up in the middle of the night, it's all on you, which is a huge weight on your shoulders, obviously. So yeah, the mental load is, it's just constant. It never ends. And I think that's that is one hard thing about, single motherhood is there's nobody to pass the baton to when you need a break. But my kids are a lot older now, which, makes things a lot easier because they are a lot more self-sufficient.
Right.
I can tell my kids now, hey, I do need to go just decompress for a few moments or like 30 minutes. I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go take my shower, And they're cool with it. They are able to, you know, get themselves ready for bed or do whatever they need to do so I can do whatever I need to do for myself. So, but I understand the weight of having the responsibility all on your own. I think for single moms who have little ones, it's probably
Harder.
a whole other thing. Much harder. And my heart goes out to you because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. You know, as I was sitting here listening to you talk, I was thinking about like how honestly, whether you're married, single, somewhere in between all of that, and you have children and you're experiencing a massive amount of, you know, mental load, like how do we help each other deal with it, cope with it, but also just get relief from it, honestly, because I was thinking, like, I feel like social media probably does play a part in some mental load we carry that maybe is not necessary for us to carry. You know, as far as like, if my kids don't have X, Y, and Z, then I failed them. Or if,
the comparison.
Right.
Comparing.
Yeah. So, you know, I was just thinking here listening like, hey, you know, like it's okay to give yourself grace and be like, you know what? I didn't accomplish the things I wanted to do today. You know, so-and-so is upset with me going to bed tonight. I feel like a crappy mom. Like, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's going to be okay. Like, you did what you could do. And I think that we need to offer ourselves, you know, that grace of like, I tried the best that I could today, whether it was great or it was horrible, because we've all had the horrible days where we're like, that didn't go well at all. And when you can say, well, I could have done better. I should have done better. I should have this or I should have that. But we didn't. And to just be like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
But, you know, I've heard something that really struck a chord with me, which kind of made me feel like, oh, it's okay. You know, some days you can give 100% and that's your best. And then other days, maybe you can only give 50% and that's still your best. And that's okay because it's still your best. Right. Maybe there's just not, you don't have as much, you know, to give that day.
Yeah. And I think just coming to the realization that there's going to be some things that you can do, but you can't do everything. And you can't do everything all the time. You know, like a personal example for me was like, you know, homeschooling versus regular schooling. Since we started the conversation with schooling, I think I got to a point at the end of last year where I was like, I can't do this by myself anymore. Like, I was trying really, really hard, but then I had feelings of failure and feelings of like, I feel like I'm not, you know, doing the best as I did maybe even a year or two ago. But then also giving myself the space to be like, it's okay to feel that way. And then to make a change about it and to be okay with the change and not feel like, well, I failed at homeschooling or I failed at whatever it was I was trying to do for the rest of my life ever. You know, it's just like, okay, well, that's not working now. So let's see what will work for this next month, what will work for the next 6 months, what will, you know, work, and then giving the grace as well to change. I know I'm like such a commitment person, but when I like relaxed, I'm like, I don't have to commit forever. It was like,
it's okay to pivot.
I think, you know, as you were talking about homeschool and public school, right? And so we kind of had the conversation in our family going into August. Okay, you know, signing up for the different sports, the different levels of the sports, whether it's recreational, whether it's, you know, the training, whether it's the club level, whether it's the elite level that they were all going to try out for. And then my kids want to do all the things, right? And it basically had to say, and I told my husband before, I'm like, we have to let them know they can pick two. Because it's too much. And then I felt the guilt. Oh, well, I'm not letting them do all the things they want to do, right? But I know that I can't take on all of that commitment and be there for them 100%, get them where they need to be because I'm one person, right? or even my husband and I, when he can help, it's too much. And I had to realize, and it was very hard for me to realize, you're not hurting them by scaling back a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
But of course, the guilt was, it did weigh on me. And so then I go back and forth. Oh, well, I guess we'll just throw that in. We'll let him do that. And I'm like, no.
But also they rely on you to set boundaries and to set limits and to teach them how to do that. And if you had just said, sure, do everything, they would have been exhausted.
Yes.
Also, you know, who knows, it might cut into their ability to, you know, do schoolwork and things like that.
Well, that was it. One of the coaches, when I told him, I said, you know, because I need the academics to come first, right? And we've got to have that time. And I think after I finally made the decision and came to terms with it and realized, okay, this is what's really going to happen, it was kind of like, okay, you know, it felt good. It felt good to know that we didn't have to do all of that, you know?
Yeah.
Even though we still do a lot, it's not what it could have been, I guess. So,
Right.
Yeah.
But the guilt, like you were talking about, I felt that, but just in a different way.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. But don't feel guilty for what you're not doing. Like you too, like saying that you feel guilt that you're quitting homeschooling, but look at how many years you did it and you did it well. I homeschooled 1 year and I was, that was it. I couldn't.
Everybody homeschooled for at least a year during COVID. That was the worst.
So the fact that you've done it for this many years and like you literally, like you're one, like your first, his entire 12 years, right? So you didn't fail
quit.
at anything.
Yeah,
you succeeded, and then you decided that this is not what you know is working for our family anymore, and that's okay. Same with you. You didn't fail, or there's nothing to feel guilty about not, you know, your kids not being able to do everything. Like you were successful in setting those limits and those boundaries and teaching them why and, you know, how to do that, which is important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, mom guilt is a real thing. I think we all feel.
Yeah. And I think learning from what I've been hearing just the past couple minutes is just learning to say no and being okay with it. And yeah, you might let down your kids for a little bit, or you might let down the coach, or you might let down the teacher or the other person that was really, really hoping that you'd volunteer and that you would be doing the things. But, you know, and they'll be okay.
They will.
Yeah.
They'll be okay.
They will.
Yeah. The mental load affects your mental health. Does it affect your mental health?
I think that is a great question to kind of go into what we were just really talking about, because I think when we do take on too much, or we feel like there's too much to keep track of, you get anxiety, which has physical symptoms like shortness of breath, racing heart, headaches, muscle aches, like insomnia, all those things, like nightmares, like just bad dreams and stuff. You know, you get that, and then, you know, that leads to, you know, depression. Like, I think if you get into a rut of like the words we were already talking about, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, mom. Look at these other moms who seem to be doing it all, and
the negative self-talk.
Yeah, you know, you can definitely, you know, I think I've had days where I've been there, like, I'm just not good enough. I'm just not this. I can't seem to get whatever it is I feel like people are depending on me or think that I should be doing. I can't get it done. But I feel like I'm doing all this stuff. I feel like I'm constantly doing stuff. So yeah, I feel for sure it can affect your mental health. I think if you feel like you are constantly on the go, even if you're not like physically going somewhere, but your mind is constantly on a go, and there's no rest, it can be very detrimental to just everything, to you personally, but also the people around you. If you're irritable and Yeah, so for sure, I think it can affect me. That's why, I mean, I'm like trying to stay in the moment, take my walks, exercise when I can.
Yeah, I mean, I was
good.
thinking the same thing. So all of that, it definitely affects. So we have to go back to what we talked about earlier, right? That whatever it is for you, you have to make sure to take that time, whether it's even if you only get 5 minutes, because life is full of all the things you have to do. But it's so important. Maybe you turn on a show and you just zone out, right? Go on a walk, you take a shower. I remember my kids were young. I'd be like, if I just get a shower today, I won. You know, if I wash my hair, I really won.
It's a successful day.
Because that was a task in itself, just to get a shower. So yeah. And just sit back and know that those little things, while they may seem little, they're big no matter what phase of life you're in, whether it's, like I said, you're a single mom, married, whether you have older kids, younger kids, lots of kids, one kid, doesn't matter. Full-time mom, working mom, stay-at-home mom, just whatever you have in your life, if you give yourself credit for something, it really, you've done a good job that day. Yeah.
There's always wins in every day, even in the worst days.
Even if the laundry's piled high, right?
Yeah. You've done
Which
something.
is most of the days. Or the dishes are piled high.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. But that's, I think for me, that took time to learn that and to accept that. Because I remember my kids were younger, people would tell me the same thing. And I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about, you know, but they did know what they're talking about. And so I see that now as my kids are older. If I got a shower that day, it was a great day.
Yeah. And you're still accomplishing a whole lot, especially with young kids. If you've kept them fed, changed, alive, happy for an entire day, even if you don't get a shower, even if the house is a disaster and the dishes aren't done and the laundry's not done, you've done the most important job.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about my friends who maybe go to work from 8 to 5, right? If they've gone and their kids are maybe at daycare, but they've gone and they've worked hard for their kids to be able to provide for them, right? They've done a great job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because not everybody stays at home with their kids because they can't.
Yep.
Right? And so it's important to remember that they've gone, they have a job, and their kids are fine where they are too. And they're doing the best they can. And I think it's so good. The beauty of it is, so say that day was horrible. You got no time to yourself. Everything went wrong. Guess what? You can reset and start the next day.
Yes.
You know? And that really...
That's a beautiful thing.
You can lay down at night and say, okay, I'm going to do it better tomorrow.
Tomorrow is a new day.
It's a new day. And I'm thankful for a new day. And I'm going to try again.
Yeah. As Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables would say, tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it.
Yep.
So just remember that.
Yep.
All right, guys, that is our time for today. We're so glad that you joined us today. Go to our website and leave us any questions that you have. If you have any ideas or anything that you'd like to share with us that we could even share on the podcast, we would love to hear from you. Until next time, we will see you then.